Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Bingecast, where we take TV shows and movies and binge them in easily digestible chunks. I am Jay Winger, being joined by
Zeke Chris,
and we are back for part 4 of our binge of Mobile Suit Gundam as part of our continuing binge of Gundam: The Whole Damn Saga. When we last left off, they'd had the funeral for Garma, and of course the Zabi family used it as a political move to get everybody in Zeon rallying behind them.
Well, Garma's dad didn't want to do that. He wanted to mourn by himself, but they were all like, no, we need to do this.
Yep.
And his older brother, Giran, decided to turn it into a political rally instead.
Can you think of any parallels to that? A political leader using something that shouldn't be politicized and instead using it for a political rally.
Hold my mask, I'll be right back.
No, I can't think of any parallels. Can you?
No.
That's fake news.
Nobody comes to my mind.
At any rate, and White Base, I think we're still in Zeon territory, but we're now basically being used to gather intel and data.
For the most part, they are, but they are being used to attack a Zeon mine, and it's a rather large mine.
I can see from the menu that we have up here, Zeon Secret Mine is episode 17 in this binge.
That'll be not the episode that we're going to watch,
but the following one, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the objectives that White Base has been ordered to do is to go after, or not to go after it, but it's for a land battle that we're going to see soon.
Odessa Day.
Yeah, Odessa Day.
They mentioned that in the previous episode, according to my notes here.
Yeah, where they're going to attack Zeon's largest mine on Earth, and that'll heavily damage a lot of their supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So
targeting logistics is always one of those strategies in wartime. So
of course. Especially
that's how the Russians defeated Napoleon and then the Nazis.
I thought they just froze to death.
That too, but the thing is, they basically, in those ground wars, the Russians just kept pulling back further and further into Russia, so that Napoleon and then later the Nazis had to keep advancing, which stretched out their supply lines, and then the Russians just moved around and flanked them, cut off the supply lines, and then waited for Mother Winter to move in, or General Winter. Sorry, General Winter, I think is what Russians like to refer to it as.
But yeah, that's basically what's going to happen in the next few episodes.
It's one of the classic blunders. Never get involved in a land war in Asia.
That's basically what happens in this, and in the same thing goes with 8th MS Team. 8th MS Team takes place in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and in the previous episode, also the White Base captured one of Ramba Rawl's support pilots.
Just watching the mech be carried by the other mech. Like,
yeah.
Come on, boy!
Yeah, the freaking
hauling it over its shoulder like it's. No, it was dragging it by its face. That's right.
When I saw that, I saw it was imaging him putting his hand inside the mouth.
Yeah, come on!
Yeah, the gun cannon dragging off of Zaku too, because I guess they saw an opportunity and they took it.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
Zaku is one of the things that Zeon has that the Federation didn't until the Federation developed the Gundam and its counterparts.
Well, here's the thing, though, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, is that if you watch Gundam: The Origin, it shows that they did have a gun tank and something that was akin to the gun cannon. But what makes the two that White Base is carrying so special is the fact that they are prototypes for new versions of those suits.
Okay.
Meaning that basically it's in the case of all three suits actually, is that they can essentially split in half, and the core fighter will basically escape carrying all the combat data the suit has.
makes sense. It's because that core fighter has the black box essentially.
Basically, yeah. And the core fighter, because they have like 3 of them, they can interchange them no matter which suit it goes into.
Mm-hmm. It's the little module that basically runs everything.
Yeah.
Anything you would like to add, Zeke? All right. So we'll get started with episode 16. And we'll be finishing this binge with episode 21. But we'll see you after the binge. And we're back following our binge of 6 episodes, which is primarily because that's how many episodes were left on the disc. 21 episodes down so far. It was like in 42 episodes total. So
yeah, we're
gonna have another long binge when we wrap up the series, and a few more binges. But this was sort of wrapped up the Ramba Raw arc of this series, just like we had the Garma arc earlier.
Yeah. It seems like everybody has their own like little arcs,
and now we're moving into the Makuve arc. But and there were a lot of parallels in a sense with, or at least towards the end with Raw. He ends up dying, and then his loved one comes looking for revenge.
Yeah, but
not unlike Isolina.
You gotta love how he died, though.
Yeah,
he didn't die terrible. He died teaching a lesson.
Well, do you remember when they first introduced Ramba Raw? You were like, I really like this guy. Mm. I'm honestly hoping that he doesn't die in a really stupid way. And I wanted to say something so bad.
I did like him. He was. Well, I think I described him last time as my country right or wrong. He is loyal to Zeon, but more to Zeon as a whole as opposed to the Zabi family, like a lot of Zeons right now are. After Garma's funeral,
I'll go more loyal to the code than anything else.
That too.
I mean, he was in a territory that was a neutral territory, and he could have killed the Federation people there, but instead he's like, no. We got to respect the rules, let them go. Mm-hmm. We'll follow them. There's something about following, but there is no combat in the zone.
He is not going to, commit war crimes, basically.
Yeah. I mean, if it was Char, I'm pretty sure Char would have been like, I can nucleate myself.
It's like Char, I get the feeling, might do it if he could assure that there were no witnesses.
Witnesses? There's only more casualties. Bam!
That's what I mean.
Oh, you kind of learn a little bit more about Char later on.
Well, and that's one of the things. Yeah, I'm sure we will. Char has been gone for a while, but he will come back. I know he will. But there was a thing in the binge that we just watched that filled in a little bit more details about Char and Sayla, because we know that Char and Sayla are related, that they're brother and sister. But when Ramba Raw meets Sayla in
the White Base.
In the White Base, he recognizes her and calls her Your Highness. She's essentially a deposed princess. She, that her family had been the original rulers of Zeon before the Zabis essentially took over and kicked them out, which gives a lot more context into why Char is so keen on basically making Garma look like an idiot and get killed. And sort of setting up the Zabi to... It seems like he's working to undermine things, in a way. At least that's how I'm interpreting it right now. I could be wrong. I could be way off base. If I am, don't say anything in the comments. I want to be spoiled, but I don't want to be spoiled by this stuff.
Since you said this, Evan, we're going to go back into the history...
No.
If I'm keeping my mouth shut, then everybody else should do it too.
Exactly. If I want it, I can't always consult the Wellick of knowledge. But I did. There were comparisons you could make between Char and Raw, but they both have their own ambitions. As I just sort of said, in Char's case, it seems like he's working to sort of undermine and overthrow the Zabis. But in Raw's case, he wants to earn a promotion, but he specifically says because then he'll be able to provide better for the livelihoods of his men and for his family, him and his wife. So it's like he is the essential father to his men type. He's a very worthy opponent kind of thing. The noble demon, I think, is what TV tropes might call him. He's a bad guy, but he's got certain noble qualities to him.
Like the battle that they had where they disabled the gun tank, and one of the soldiers wanted to destroy the gun tank, but then Ramba Rawls said, no, go concentrate on the white base, because without the white base, they don't have anything.
It's like they said, you may be a bad guy, but you're not a bad guy.
He's an antagonist, but not a villain. That's the difference.
It's also
Char is a villain.
It's also like when he saw Frabo in
Rikuve is a villain.
Yeah, he is. But it's like when Ramba Raw saw Frabo for the second time on the white base.
Yeah, she pulls a gun on him. He just smacks it out.
Yeah,
of
he
her
just
hand.
smacks.
He's like, get to safety. Don't get in my way.
And that may have been partially because of their meeting earlier.
Yes, because we should backtrack a little bit. At the beginning of this binge, Amuro deserts from White Base because he feels he's not being fully appreciated. He's,
Well, they were talking about taking away Gundam from him.
Yes, and he has a bit of an ego at this point because he knows how valuable he is as a pilot. But while Amuro's away from White Base, he comes to this town, goes to like the pub or whatever, and while he's there in civilian garb, mind, because he learned his lesson after going home to visit Mama, Ramba Rawl and his wife and Rawl's soldiers show up. And
There was like 13 of them.
Yeah, and they basically no, there was like
12.
There were 13 of them all told, and then but at any rate,
There were 14
she
It's
she
problem.
sees Amuro, basically instantly is like, I like this kid, he's cute or whatever, and decides I'm going to order him a meal while I'm at it. And Amuro's just like, yeah, no thanks, but no thanks. And Rawl just he's just sort of like, hey, if you don't want to accept it from her, fine, but accept it from me instead. But then Frau shows up, and she's wearing a Federation uniform.
Well, she's wearing like a variant of it because, mind you, she has the scarf.
Yeah, I think which is.
Or no, not it's not a scarf. It's what the hell did Freddy wear in an ascot?
Yeah, it's scarf basically, or whatever the little. I can't even remember what they're called. Like those scarves that like soldiers wear in like the Middle East and stuff that they can pull up over their face or.
I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But at any rate, she shows up, and they think she's a spy or something until, well, basically Rawl puts two and two together, sort of realizes, that Amuro and Frau Bo have a relationship.
But he doesn't know what kind.
He doesn't know what kind, doesn't know specifically who Amuro is. He has some suspicions but can't confirm it. And basically pulls aside Amuro's like cloak and sees that he's got his gun ready to draw, and he's just sort of like, I like you. Get out. just go.
But he's like if we meet on the battlefield, it'll be different.
Yes. And and Amuro is basically having to learn a lot of harsh lessons over all of this, that he can't just go it on his own, because he tries to attack what he thinks is the big secret mining base that the Zeon have there. Finds out it's only one smaller base, not the big one that Odessa Day is going to be targeting.
It's the 102.
Base number 102. But when he goes to and finds this out, he finds like one injured soldier. And he goes and gives the guy some water or something. The guy
water and a flare.
Water and a flare to call for help. And as Amuro leaves, the guy's like, "Hey, I don't know if you were the pilot of that mobile suit that wiped us out or anything, but you shouldn't be soft on the enemy.
You only have one life."
Yeah, you don't have enough lives to, which is ominous.
No, I do love the fact that he doesn't get the meaning, even though he's a big tech guy.
Yeah,
You think a tech guy would be a gamer?
I don't. You don't really see a whole lot of video games in.
They don't really have a whole lot of time to play video games.
I mean, I'm not really saying a whole lot here, but in War in the Pocket, the main character who's a kid, there is a scene or two where he is sitting in his room playing a video game.
I mean, they do have a flight simulator. I guess it counts as a video game.
Yeah, but it's just, again, they don't have time to play games for recreation right now because they're constantly on the run and constantly having to make repairs to the ship, rearm the mobile suits, etc., etc., etc.
And constantly push themselves to the limit until they pass out.
Yes.
Well, in Bright's case, he has a fever, so he got sick.
Well, he was literally working himself to the point of exhaustion. That's why he passed out.
Yeah, but then they also said that he had a fever.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of everybody is starting to crack under the pressure. We saw that with Bright. Mirai was starting to crack right there in that last episode. Amuro's been having a lot of battle fatigue issues and PTSD shit going on.
But the only thing I don't understand is the other ones that try to leave to go join another Federation crew.
Yeah,
but you're in Zeon territory!
I think it's because they know that they're not too far off from where General Rebel's forces are at. They just don't know how far exactly.
Yeah. And I guess they're figuring if we just keep out of main patrol areas, then we might be able to sneak past to get to Federation territory. But yeah, I'm still not entirely sure what their motivations were there exactly. They sort of touched on it, but
I think it's because of Amuro leaving.
That it's just like, if he can leave, then so can we.
Basically, that's what it is. It's like watching 5 people at your job quit in unison,
and you're just sort of like, suddenly I'm gonna have to pick up all the slack. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Does that mean that's coming up to me? I have 4 out of 5. Who's the 5th? Oh God, I'm close to being Amuro. Do I get to drive a Gundam soon?
No.
Oh.
You got a forklift.
Oh,
by the way, do we want to bring up the OSHA violation that we saw?
Oh my God, the OSHA. So while they're trying to effect repairs to the White Base at one point, they're basically using the gun tank and the gun cannon as forklifts.
They're basically alright. So
the gun tank is on the bottom, holding its arms out, and the gun cannon is standing on those arms.
Meanwhile, the gun cannon's arm is extended, and there's somebody sitting in it who's conducting repairs because the spot that he has to do the repairs in is too high up for anything else.
It's like the picture of the forklift, holding the guy doing the repairs.
It's just so you're like, you're in so much danger. And then there was, that just sort of brought to mind the weird-ass 70s music at the beginning of the first episode of the Binge.
Actually,
it sounded like, I think Zeke called it like porn music.
It's called Almost Dessert. I know it's not talking about, food, but it's like, almost dessert. Sexy porn music. Oh, yeah.
We're just like, yeah, that's right.
Mind you,
pilot that ship slow, nice and slow.
Buttons the way I like them.
Yeah, push those buttons just the way I like them.
But what he was trying to do is he was trying to get the information from the captured Zaku 2.
Yeah.
And was trying to use that to make combat data for Gundam, which ended up being completely useless.
Yeah. I mean, points to him for trying. It's just he had no way of knowing that it was not going to work out. He was literally looking for any advantage he could get against the Guff. Goof.
That's right. At one point in time, Makuve says
he's like deploying. They've made more of the Guff, and he's like,
and they literally called it a Guff troop. And Jay and I both looked at each other and just went, Goof troop.
It was just, we had the exact same, it was partly because of the way the voice actor for Makuve pronounced it. He pronounced it way more like goof rather than guff.
Yeah, it's actually pronounced guff, but it's spelled Gouf.
Yeah, and I'm just like, just spell it Guff. At that point, don't overcomplicate it.
But then they also brought up another mobile suit that we haven't seen yet.
A ground-based mobile suit that they called a Dom.
Yeah.
But the way that Hammond's voice actress pronounced it, it sounded like she said dongs. So I'm just like, heavy dongs?
I heard Dom. Produce the army of Doms! We have a bunch of Vin Diesels coming in on vehicles.
Yeah, we're just like, they're fucked. They got a bunch of Vin Diesels coming in.
Now, do we want to discuss who all has died?
And yes, we had our first major death on the Federation side since the original captain of the White Base died.
Yeah.
With Ryu. He got injured during Rawls' attack on the White Base and was supposed to be spending the next episode in bed recuperating, but he kept getting himself out of bed and going and confronting Bright about the fact that Amuro came back and you just threw him in the brig, and after you let him out to go do some fighting, you just throw him right back in the brig. You're not even trying to talk to him to explain your rationale for doing that. He's not going to learn anything if you do that.
He's a tiger.
And accused Bright of being afraid of confronting Amuro over it. And then he drags himself down to go talk to Amuro to basically sort of explain, hey, this is, do you still resent the fact that he's thrown you in here? And Amuro's like, no, I kind of understand why he did it. But, and then because Hamon's then attacking.
She's taking basically Zeon's tanks. What they can do is when the bottom part is destroyed, the top part can lift off and act independently, and basically just act more like a plane. So she's
like a flying gun, basically.
Yeah. So what she does is she takes hers and maneuvers it behind the Gundam and starts shooting at it at point blank range, destroys its shield, damages its jetpack. And Amuro can't do anything about it, and the gun operators that are on White Base, they can't shoot it because of how close it is to the Gundam. And
again, they don't want to put Amuro at risk because it's the pilots again who are shooting it.
Yeah,
they are loyal more to Amuro than to the White Base.
Keep in mind, he can't do anything. The gun can't do anything because he's got a big ship for TNT going towards White Base to explode into it.
Yeah, that tank is basically been turned into a fire ship and sent on a kamikaze course.
So he's trying to hold that back. And while all this is happening, you see one of the core fighters shows up and crashes into
into
Hamon's ship, and
kamikaze just mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, and destroys both of them. Everybody in the White Base essentially knows who it was that was in the core fighter, and Amuro doesn't know. He goes, destroys he
takes out the fire ship.
Yeah, he takes out the ship, and.
He was like, "Who's in that?"
He's like, guys, who was in the core fighter? And they're like, it was Ryu. He goes, no, Ryu's still in bed. Seriously,
seriously, guys, who was it?
And then they were like, no, seriously, it was Ryu.
And everybody was devastated by it.
Yeah, they were all basically outside looking at the wreckage of the core fighter and Hamon's ship, and everybody's crying.
Yeah.
And it's showing...
Everybody feels responsible for it.
Well, because, who was it? It was Frabo and
Sayla had been trying to get him back to bed, and he's like, go
get Amuro out.
Go get Amuro out. I'll take responsibility. Hayato.
Well, not just Hayato, but also because remember
there was that other pilot.
Yeah, well, because the way the gun tank functions is that it has a pilot and a gunner. The gunner sits basically in the head while the pilot sits close to where the treads are at. He goes and tells the pilot,
swap with me.
I'll take the core booster. He's like, aren't you injured? He's like, if you're during war, you gotta make certain sacrifices, etc., etc.
You gotta improvise when you're
improvise. That's what it was.
So he's like, okay. So he gets out, takes the core fighter out.
And Hayato lets him do it.
Yeah,
that's why he feels responsible.
And so, and then, next thing it shows is him crashing. Well, it's all through little itty bitty flashbacks.
Yeah, little flashbacks back and forth showing all this, and everybody is still feeling the effects, feeling the grief from it in the next episode, as Bright's with the exhaustion and everything. he'd been relying on Ryu because Ryu has more military experience than Bright does.
Yeah.
Was sort of relying on him to help keep the pilots in line, and Mirai was much the same way. They're all starting to crack from just the strain of constant battle, losing a key member of their crew and a friend.
And not only that, but the white base getting as damaged as it has had.
Oh yeah.
Like you have it's like in the episode Time Be Still where the Xeon soldiers put all the little bombs around the Gundam. In this case, what they did was they put them all over white base except for the radar.
Yeah, they disabled the Minovsky particle generators. They disabled the electronic countermeasures, the ECM, which basically allows them to hide from radar and other electronic detection systems. But it left the radar alone. And the reason for that became clear later in the episode as they're being driven essentially by all these attacking Xeon forces from Makuve's base right into a trap. Because they've carefully done it in a way that the white base's radar picks up a direction where there's no attacks coming from. And so they move in that direction.
Turns out there's a mega particle cannon hidden away, and that blows a huge hole in the left side hangar.
Yeah, and it basically takes out one of the main engines.
Yeah,
and they have to basically touch down.
Yeah, it starts a huge fire inside one of the engines, and so they're like, we need to set down and turn off the engine, otherwise it's going to explode. And
they managed to get the pursuing forces to withdraw by just setting off a bunch of smoke bombs to make it look like they've been taken out of commission, which is, let's face it, they kind of have. But it buys them at least a little bit of a reprieve while the Xeon just draw back so they can come in again to attack. But they're basically in a really, really tough spot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, things aren't easy for them, and it hasn't been easy for them at all since they've gotten to Earth.
It hasn't been easy for them since day one, essentially.
Since that manual...
They have been on the run literally since Side 7 got destroyed.
It wasn't really destroyed. It was
attacked.
It was attacked. Yeah,
I should say. And yeah, I'm constantly like, where the hell are they going to go? How the hell are they going to get out of this one? And this is like they managed to keep holding on, but it's literally like just barely. It's like they fixed the damage from the last battle, and they get damaged again. And now they're like, okay, we need to get a resupply. Lieutenant Matilda, please come help.
It's essentially what happens.
That's apparently what's going to be in the next episode, which will start out the next binge as she comes in to try to assist one more time.
Oh, one more time. Do you know something we don't know?
No, I do.
Well, literally, it was in the title of the next episode. Matilda's something or other rescue, I think.
Yeah, where she basically comes and helps them out again because General Revel, he actually sees the value, along with Matilda, but they both see the value of the white base and the crew simply because of everything that they've gone through, plus the 3 mobile suits that they're carrying.
3 prototype mobile suits getting more and more combat data with every engagement.
One's missing the core now.
Yeah, because they're I don't know. Well, the gun tank was damaged because of the treads being pretty much
the core fighter, which has the black box,
is gone.
Just kamikazed.
Well, I mean, the thing about black boxes...
Part of it is, yes, okay, so they may be able to recover the black box from the wreckage, but is all the combat data still going to be intact?
It should be.
It's a black box. It'll be fine.
That's true.
But, yeah, that's just about everything, I guess.
You forgot the most important bit.
What?
1980 boobies are creepy as hell.
Zeke.
I'm not the only one going, God, that's kind of creepy.
I was just like, oh, yeah, when it came up, I was like, okay.
Technically, I think the first half of the series, I want to say this was still in 79, because the series, when it finally ended, was in April of 1980. And it started in November of 79. So
Yes.
we'll just say late 70s.
Yeah.
Because here's the part that creeps me out about this.
Well,
The whole entire time-
I should apply some context here. The boobies in question are not from any sort of sex thing. No, it's just who was it? Was it Frabo?
No. The
or
first
was it
time,
Mirai?
all right. So
I'm not talking about him with Amuro coming to repair the sink. I'm talking about the.
That was a side shot. That was
side boobs, which
there was full
barely counts.
boob when what's her name?
Oh yeah, Frabo with the three
with the orphans.
War orphans.
Yep.
And they're all taking a shower together, and
it's not
exactly full frontal, but I mean, come on, you see full frontal in Dragon Ball.
We get we get breasts.
You do get full breasts. But here's the thing that creeps me out about this, and this is what I'm gonna say. The whole entire time they call these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so freaking creepy. You can't keep going kids, and then boobs. And then you go back to kids. No!
Especially
Japan!
Especially when that one boy starts rubbing the little girl's chest.
Hold on a second. No. I gotta tell you this. The original line that was said, and this is on my, because I have. All right, so I have the original Toonami cuts of Gundam. The line that he originally said was, "Hey, how come Frau's chest looks different than yours?" That's the reason why she looks down, looks up at Frau, and then starts crying.
She got the boobs. She got the A-cup angst going.
It's essentially like Goku in Dragon Ball, where he sees Bulma bathing. He goes, "Bulma, why do girls have butts on their chests?" Mind you, this is Kid Goku.
I know.
Okay, if we're gonna go there, we should just talk about where's your balls at? Because he pats down in the front of her where she's sleeping. Remember?
Oh yeah, I remember. It's been a while since I've watched Dragon Ball, but that was one of the funnier moments that stuck with me.
But that's funny. This is just creepy.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that thinks that?
You're not.
Okay.
You're not.
Well,
usually I'm fine with going boobies. Huzzah! This is boobies. Oh, wow!
Boobies in front of little kids. I think that's what made it creepy.
I think no, they keep calling them kids. Like even the general is going, "These are kids fighting a battle. These are
because
kids.
they're teenagers."
That's
the reason.
I'm not talking about those kids. I'm talking about
I'm talking
the
about
boobs with the little kids. Yes, okay, it is still creepy because teenagers and shouldn't be a thing.
I love you, Japan, but no.
Oh, you gotta love Japan censorship.
Oh, Japan.
You can show everything from the top up, but nothing from the waist down.
Or if you do have to show it from the waist down, you gotta pixelate it. And even then, some of them just put like a little strip of pixelation. Because there you go, that counts for censorship.
One thing I've always wondered, you put you off tape. I wonder if someone got really bored with a pixelated picture and tried to make it like a puzzle.
Where they got rid of every single pixel.
And they
you know that there is some lonely, acne-ridden neckbeard in his parents' basement somewhere who has done exactly that.
As we all try.
And then gets pissed because him reassembling all the pixels didn't give him the money shot he was looking for.
Nope.
Why are we talking about this?
But anyway.
That I think about wraps it up for this episode of the Bingecast.
I did ask you this earlier, and I'm going to ask both of you this. I know you kind of cut yourself off when you were answering it. Do you miss Char yet?
No.
That's right. It came up while we were in mid binge, and we were like, let's keep it for this. I do kind of miss Char because he's a fascinating, especially with some of the revelations about Sayla coming out.
Yeah.
I do want to see more of what his scheme is. You know, what else he has planned, because it's very clear he's got a long-term goal.
Like, do you like the fact that he kind of like they kind of took the character and stepped him to the side so we can get these other ones? Because we have Kuva, we have Cassilia, we have Ramba Rawl, we have Ramba Rawl's wife, and you don't see you're not going to see them for maybe like another couple more episodes, but they're going to bring in this one team called the Black Tri-Stars.
Okay.
And
it's just Char was sort of dominating so much of the first part of the series, and yeah, having him reassigned, basically pulled back from the front lines because you let Garma die.
Well, you might get a good chuckle over what he was reassigned to, because you do see him pop up later.
I don't doubt that, but yeah, I do want to find out what Char is up to, because he's up to something. You know that he's up to something even when he's been reassigned to Antarctica or wherever the fuck he's been put.
No.
You and Zeke, yeah, you said you don't miss Char.
Char is an interesting character, don't get me wrong, but for some reason I always draw more to the bad guy who's not bad.
You get drawn more to an antagonist than a villain.
Yeah, because I mean, like, really, the moments that
like
shine,
Raw.
yeah, Raw shine more, in my opinion. Raw shine more than Char has because of that code that he has. Char will shoot you in the back and not KO.
He's a practical.
Yeah.
I mean, if like
the only reason he wouldn't shoot you in the back is because he has some other plan for you.
Mm-hmm. Like your pawn is
like
meant to be
Garma.
disposed.
Like Garma, he could have killed Garma at plenty of other
opportunities,
plenty of other opportunities, but he waited until the right moment when it wouldn't blow back on him too much. It still did because, he had been assigned to protect Garma, and by Garma dying, he sort of failed. So they're like, get to the back, go, you're benched, get out of here.
Well, remember when he was sitting at that bar and he was watching Garen's speech,
watching the speech,
and Garen is just like, why would something like this happen to our?
Because he was a spoiled brat.
Yeah, and Char just goes, because he was a spoiled brat. And then, and you don't really see the character, but apparently one of, I think it was one of Cassilia's royal guards meets up with him.
Yeah, I don't think they did show who he met with very clearly.
You just
saw it was somebody, and it was clearly a significant meeting of some sort.
Because Cassilia, not to go too spoiler-ridden, but she knows who Char is.
Yeah. I feel like that was mentioned at some point in one of the earlier episodes, but I may be just misremembering something.
Probably.
But regardless, I'd say of the 6 episodes that we saw in this binge, my favorite was probably the hand-to-hand combat episode where we're all...
Because you don't really see that all that often.
Right, the commando attack on the white base and them infiltrating and trying to disable it, take it over, etc. Because, it's again, Rawl sort of showing that he is, not just an ace pilot, but a pretty good soldier in his own right.
A teacher to the end.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that stuck with me on that one is the fact that he says, keep your eyes on me. Like he wants them to see how a soldier's life will end. That was kind of cool.
Where he popped the grenade, jumped out, and then the Gundam tried to catch him.
But
Amuro didn't know that he popped the grenade.
No, but he actually told them to watch him. Because they wanted to see what the soldier's life ends. The soldier's life ends in death.
Mm-hmm.
Because he recognized this is a ship full of children, essentially. Teenagers and people who aren't very experienced.
Remember the Zeon soldier who tried to put one of the bombs on the bridge?
Oh yeah, and the little orphan girl is like yelling at him. He's like, "Get away from the window!"
He's like, "Okay, kid, get away from the window!" And then Mirai goes on over and grabs her. He's like, "Get that kid away from here!"
It's like they are the enemy, but they are not all evil.
I have to say my favorite episode was the one where Ramba was fighting the Gundam, and they both had the cockpit.
Oh yeah, and they both they see each other.
Badass is when he grabs the melting metal, moves it aside so he can continue his fight, and says, "You only won because of the Gundam,
not because of your own skills."
And that was another teaching moment. Like I said, he's always teaching.
But he is basically the first good rival that Amuro has faced. Yeah, Char is a rival in a sense, but Char isn't looking to teach. He's just looking to kill.
So I kind of gotta like.
Sure, Ramba was trying to essentially kill Amuro, but was also taking the opportunity when he realized I've been beaten. I'm going to just impart a little bit of knowledge because I want to fight you again.
Before he died, he was also badly wounded too because he was shot because he was distracted by I'm just had a brain fart. It's by Sayla, thank you. By Sayla, and while they were conversing, that's when he got shot and wounded. He goes into that one room, closes the door.
Talking is not a free action.
Clearly. He goes into
He gets the reference.
He won that one.
He goes into the one room, and while he's in there, the Gundam takes the javelin, the beam javelin, and puts it through the wall, and knocks him back and injures him even more. And he's like, the Gundam's always in my way. And so that's when he walks on over to the hole. And when Bright and everybody comes into the room, and that's when he pops the grenade and basically says, I want you to see how a soldier's life ends. And that's when he drops down. And
I think my second favorite episode, though, would be the one where that same episode where that happens, but it's partly because of the scene in the restaurant.
God, that's has to be good scenes.
Yeah.
And they're not.
But it's just like, part of me was just like, what was Hamon's whole goal with taking a liking to Amuro? Was it just a case of ara or what?
I don't know if it was probably just the fact that he was constantly looking over at them.
Yeah.
Like, no, maybe if he wasn't looking at them and he was just like thinking to himself, don't look at them, don't look at them,
don't make eye contact.
If she would have left him alone, but because he kept on like looking over.
Well, again, this is because woman.
Remember what he
just like how he reacts to Matilda.
Yeah.
Remember what I can't pronounce his name.
Ramba
said.
Yeah, with your
isn't he a bit young? He actually said
the thing is that
isn't he a bit young for you?
Yeah. I'm going James. I don't know. She's looking for the action.
She's a cougar, baby.
Well, the thing is that you don't really know how old she is. Like, you can tell that Ramba is probably 50-ish.
Late 40s, early 50s.
Late 40s, early 50s. Like,
he's a career soldier.
Yeah. And you can tell that he's, physically strong.
You can't really tell with her how old she is, but
I want to say 30s.
Yeah, I'd say mid to late 30s. Not like too young, because then it gets creepy. Even at those ages, it's creepy.
But you can tell that she's mature in mind.
Yes.
Because
all of the interactions between them basically showed that.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm wondering if it's just because of the fact that Amuro. It may have not been because of her. It may have just been because of the fact that a bunch of Zeon soldiers just walked into the bar that he was sitting in.
And he did not move at all.
No.
Well, again, remember the last time he was in a civilian area and encountered a bunch of Zeon soldiers.
But they don't know that. That might be another reason why, because she thought this man did not run away, did not flinch with a bunch of Zeon soldiers walking in.
Maybe. But like I said, he did learn from his previous encounter. Wasn't wearing a uniform.
Well, plus in his mind he was done.
Yeah, but at the same time,
But yeah,
he still had a gun.
I mean, you got to protect yourself. Remember when he heard...
You're in a war zone, for crying out loud.
Remember when he heard Frau coming and he didn't know that it was Frau, and he takes the gun, points it at the door or the hole in the wall that's near him, and he slumps down and he's pointing up the entire time. And she sees his little mini campsite that's inside, walks inside.
That was from the previous episode, but yes, good.
Walks inside, and then hears the gun cock, and that's when she turns and looks at him and is shocked to see him pointing a gun at her. Because, well, again, he didn't know.
He just heard somebody approaching.
Yeah. I would be more shocked on the fact that the giant spaceship of a mech suit thing did not see the white Gundam that was half covered.
Well, it was at night, too.
It's a white Gundam.
At night, and it's covered.
Most partly, but then again, it seemed like that they were just taking that, the what was it called? The ad
zone.
The ad zone. The new like
it's a mobile armor.
Mobile armor. It looked like they were just taking it on a shakedown flight. They weren't seriously out on a scouting mission.
Probably, because I was reading up that they only technically made 3 of those. One of them was in the Dreamcast Mobile Suit Gundam game, which takes place entirely in Australia, by the way.
Is there anything left of Australia by the time that fight is done there? Mind you, there's not a whole lot in the middle of Australia. It's mostly all on the coast.
The bad only thing I can think of is we didn't start the file.
What do you mean?
That things that come in there start the file.
Oh, yeah. You
too soon, man. Too soon.
Sorry.
You do. God damn it.
It
took me a second because we kind of forgot in February.
There's been so much that happened this year.
First the virus, then the bees,
and we're not even halfway through yet.
We'll be halfway through at the end of the month, but
yeah, by the time this goes up, we'll be closer to the halfway point of the year.
Yeah, but you do see the damage done to Australia in Stardust Memory.
Okay.
So you do get to see that.
Can't wait for this mid-season break of 2020. Please give us a mid-season break.
Well, the mid-season break, we gotta go repair the Gundam, so we get some fighting chance at least. Japan, make the Gundam away!
Oh, wait, what'd you think of the scene where he's fighting in the Gundam and he's fighting another Guff? And as he's about to stab it with the beam saber runs out of energy.
Yeah, that's right, it runs out of energy. Just thunk. Puts a dent in it.
He puts a dent in it and it freaks the pilot out, so he's like, you know what, screw it. Grabs the gun and starts to rip it in half. And meanwhile, the pilot climbs out.
Scrambles down it and then just runs.
And Amuro the Gundam just takes the Guff and throws it.
Yeah, there were a lot of those little moments of humor to sort of break up the horrors of war, but
I because you were bringing up soldiers and them fighting children and everything. Like the Zeons, when they start seeing who they're actually fighting and what's actually on board the white base, like the one guy who was like, hey, get that kid out of here. I gotta fast forward a little bit to Victory Gundam real quick.
Okay.
There's a scene in one of the episodes where, mind you, at this point, Zeon is gone. The Principality is long gone. The Earth Federation is still there, but...
other problems have arisen.
Yeah.
At any rate.
So, much like... on the white base, the Ligue Militaire is, which is the main force fighting against like the main enemy in Victory Gundam, is mostly made of, there are kids in it. Like especially again, like what I had said about the Gundam pilot Uso, who is 13 years old. He's fighting this one of like the ace pilots of the Zanskar Empire, and when this enemy pilot sees who he's fighting, he cannot live with himself to fight kids. So he opts to kill himself. Because, for one thing, the Zanskar doesn't really tolerate deserters very well. Like, they punish people. Like, I'm not going to lie, they bring the guillotine back. And, public executions and everything.
Yeah.
So anyways, he kills himself. Because he's like, I cannot, I can't fight kids. Right. And I can't go back. Disgrace.
It's like I can't continue fighting, but they won't let me not fight. So
no matter what, I'm dead. So he kills himself. Whereas in this one, it's Zeon is a little more tolerable.
Yeah. In
terms of certain things, like I'm fairly certain they will be like, oh shit, we didn't know there were kids on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But I think that about wraps it up for this edition of the Bingecast. We had some good discussion here. Zeke has something to say.
I do want to know one thing. How many people are that loyal to Char? Because you had 13 people on that last mission in order to sacrifice themselves for revenge for their captain.
For Raw, yeah.
Yeah. How many people are that loyal to Char?
Do you remember the captain of the one ship that Char was on at the beginning, right? That's one of them. And yeah, you do see him pop up later on. You do see loyalists to Char.
In Raw's case, again, it comes down to father to his men. He looks after them. He's constantly looking for ways to make their lives a little bit easier, a little bit better.
You want to know another good example?
He looks after their well-being.
You want to know another good example of that? Chernobyl, the miners.
That's true. In the HBO Chernobyl, the main miner, as soon as he figures out what here's what they want him to do, he's like, I'm going to get started right away. I don't want my men here a second longer than they have to be.
So, yeah, that's another good example of a leader looking out for his people.
And going back to Chernobyl in a way, or at least sort of showing respect to the men. After they were done clearing the roof, that one general shook the hands of every single
I remember
worker.
that scene.
Even though it's like these guys have just been contaminated with God knows how much radiation.
Especially the one that ripped his boot.
Well, that guy wasn't part of that squad, but that guy was in that one scene, and it's just sort of like after his boot got ripped open, you just hear that one colonel just go, "Comrade soldier, you're done." Just sort of like, that's it, bye.
Later. But yeah, to be continued.
Yes, to be continued. So we are halfway through Mobile Suit Gundam now. So we've got probably 4 more binges to go.
Yeah,
because two more discs.
Yeah, but like I said, I need to look at the
21 more episodes.
21 more episodes.
I need to look at the number of episodes and figure out it's like 5, 5, 5, 5. See if
if it was 42 episodes, we did 5, 5, 5, 6.
Yeah.
So we'll probably do that again.
Probably.
Because we literally looked at the first disc and was like, there were 10 episodes on it.
So we did.
But at any rate, that's for us to discuss. So for Zeke and Chris, I'm Jay, and we'll see you next time. 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 You next time.